I welcome you to this story based on when Jesus was at the cross, a Roman centurion said, "Surely this was the Son of God." The centurion Lucius stood on the stony rise of Golgotha, helmet tucked under one arm, the afternoon sun beating down like a hammer on bronze. The three crosses rose against the sky. The man in the center had hung there for 6 hours, silent. Now, after the cries and the mockery, Lucius had seen 1,000 executions. This one felt different from the start. Something in the man's eyes, the way he had prayed for the soldiers who nailed him. "Father, forgive them." The word still rang in Lucius' ears. Then the sky changed. It was not clouds gathering for rain. No wind stirred the dust. The sun simply vanished. It got dark, and it swallowed as if a great hand had closed over it. Midday became midnight. Torches were lit along the execution line, their flames pale and trembling. Soldiers muttered, shifting their feet. Lucius felt the darkness press against him like a living thing. He glanced at the cross again, and Jesus had spoken once more, "It is finished," and he bowed his head. The ground answered. A low groan rose from the earth, then a violent heave. Rocks split with sharp cracks. The cross beam swayed. Lucius grabbed the nearest post to keep from falling. A tomb on the hillside burst open. Dust bellowed. When the shaking stopped, the darkness lingered another hour before the sun returned. Weak and ashamed, Lucius stared at the dead man. Blood and water had run from the spear wound. He swallowed once, then spoke aloud, voice hoarse. "Surely this was the Son of God." The words left his mouth before he could stop them. His second in command, Marcus, looked at him sharply but said nothing. They lowered the body at dusk and marched back to the city in silence. 3 days passed. Rumors reached the barracks faster than official reports. Graves had been opened during the quake. Bodies long buried had walked again. Saints, prophets, ordinary men and women seen by dozens in Jerusalem. One soldier swore his own mother had told him that she had seen people raised from the dead. He is risen. Jesus is risen. The stories were wild and impossible, yet Lucius could not dismiss them. The darkness and the earthquake had been real. He had felt the ground tear itself apart beneath his sandals. That evening, Lucius left the fortress and walked the short distance to the small stone residence the Legion had given him near the western wall. 40 off-duty soldiers waited inside. Marcus, young Titus, and quiet Severus, sharing a jar of sour wine by lamplight. They had all been at Golgotha. Lucius closed the door, dropped his cloak and sat on the bench. No one spoke for a long minute. I said it out loud, he began, on the hill. Surely this was the Son of God. I meant it. Marcus set his cup down hard. We all heard you, Centurion. The whole line heard you. Titus leaned forward, eyes wide. The sky went black, Lucius. Not storm black, just an empty black, like the sun died. Then the earth tried to follow. I did see a grave split open, not 20 yards from the cross. Something moved inside of it. I'm not lying. I've stood in German forests where God supposedly walked. Never found anything like that. My spear shook in my hand, and now they say the dead are walking. The man smiled at him and vanished into the crowd. Servius stared into his wine. Pilate already has spies everywhere. He's terrified the body was stolen. If he hears we're talking resurrection, talking gods, he'll have us flogged or worse. Remember what he did, the last cohort that whispered about omens in Galilee. Lucius nodded. He had seen Pilate's rages. The governor feared revolt more than he feared the gods. A Roman officer declaring a crucified Jesus teacher to be divine could be called treason. Marcus lowered his voice. We all felt it, the darkness, the quake, the way that man looked at us while we gambled for his clothes. Pilate would nail us beside him if he thought we had turned to believe what he was saying. The lamp flame flickered. Outside, a dog barked once and fell silent. But I know what I saw, what we all saw. You think he really rose? I will say this, that there's word that some of the other soldiers in the other platoon that were guarding the actual tomb, that they saw this mighty being of light. I didn't tell you yet because I don't know where this is all going to go. So do you think he really rose from the dead? I stood watch until the tomb was sealed. If the dead are walking the streets of Jerusalem tonight, then something bigger than Caesar has begun, and I'm not the only one who knows it. He lifted his cup. The others hesitated, then touched their cups to his in silence. No one laughed. Fear and wonder sat together at the table as guests. Word is that the religious leaders even gave some of our fellow soldiers money that were actually guarding the tomb, because they saw Jesus rise. They saw we've been told, but that are two angels, and they shook things up, and they looked like lightning. I know that sounds hard to believe. That's the report we're hearing from our fellow comrades. Outside, the city slept under the ordinary stars. The darkness had absolute darkness had gone. Light can be seen, but the stars were shining through from the heavens. Lucius stared into the flame and felt for the first time in 20 years of service as a soldier that the ground beneath him had shifted forever. What would this mean for the future?